So that was really the beginning of the challenges that I think a lot of couples face is you're going through this very individualized journey of pregnancy. And it's a physical journey, a mental journey, emotional, professional.
Ever feel like you're in a constant competition between your career and your husband's patience? Your kids think you work too hard, but hey, you're doing it all for them, right? The struggle is real, and I've been there too. Moments of feeling like a crappy mom and wife because once again, your kids had breakfast on their way to school, and you've got more important things on your plate than cooking and cleaning. Hey there, working moms who are juggling a million things and still wondering if you're doing it right. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a mama of 3, and married for 24 years. Welcome to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast, where we dive deep into the messy, chaotic, and sometimes hilarious world of mastering motherhood, marriage, and business. I get it, balancing it all was never the goal, but here we are, trying anyway. I'm here to share my journey and guide you through yours. No more apologies for being driven, and definitely no compromises on your dreams. Together, we'll navigate the challenges of being a powerhouse in both business and family life. Join me as we tackle the uncomfortable conversations from being the breadwinner to changing the rules of what a marriage looks like. Let's figure out how to parent in a working parent household without the constant arguments or guilt. I'm Veronica Cisneros, and this is Empowered and Unapologetic, where we embrace the chaos, challenge the norms, and strive to live life on our own terms. Get ready for some real talk, actionable tips, and a few laughs along the way. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Empowered and Unapologetic podcast. I'm your host, Veronica Cisneros. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of us grapple with, but seldom discuss openly: the struggle with mood and maintaining quality of life during and after the transition into motherhood. Our guest is the insightful Jess Hall. Jess is a former Facebook and Google executive who turned her expertise into data and analytics into a mission to support women navigating postpartum challenges. She is the founder of Mother Me, an innovative app, online course, and support framework designed for successful women who want to do more than just survive their postpartum journey. Jess approaches her work from a data-driven perspective, focusing on practical solutions that lower the risks associated with postpartum mood struggles. She emphasizes the importance of connecting with your partner as a key factor in improving emotional well-being. Known for her enthusiasm, humor, and compelling speaking style, Jess combines her passion for sharing actionable insights with her personal experiences, resonating deeply with women facing similar challenges. In her research and personal journey, Jess realized that mothers and their well-being are often overlooked. This motivated her to start Mother Me, a call to action recognizing that moms deserve the same love and care we instinctively give to our newborns. So please help me by welcoming Jess. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Veronica, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Listen, there are so many things that have kept us from this moment, and we are here recording both on my end, on your end. We're going to make this happen.
Yep, here we are.
Right? Totally. This is motherhood in action. So, can you help me by, I understand you have this personal background with Mother Me and why you created it. You have so much data experience. Take me to your struggle and what that was like for you.
Sure. So I had my first baby while I was working at Facebook and now Meta.
Yeah.
But arguably some of the best benefits in the world in terms of supporting women. So I felt sort of a false sense of security that I had what I needed through my employer and just sort of trusted my doctors and quickly found out that I was comically naive and
Yeah.
unprepared for the realities of motherhood, and really felt almost like you said in the intro, invisible in the process of the pregnancy and the postpartum, with so
Mhm.
much focus being on the baby. And I didn't quite realize that that was even a problem
Yeah.
until I had my second child. And, that's where like society and our cultural expectations really play an important role in this whole evolution, because we're sort of conditioned to think it's not about me. My needs aren't as important. My feelings, whether, they're physical or emotional, don't matter, because what
Mhm.
matters is a healthy baby. So
Yeah.
I sort of went on this long journey where in my first I struggled, but I didn't really vocalize it because I thought, again, something's wrong with me. It's not the the system.
Yeah.
And then when I had my second 18 months later, that's when the train started to come off the tracks, because my body hadn't physically healed even from my first. Emotionally, I was still sort of balancing motherhood and a demanding career. My relationship with my husband, as new parents, we were very unprepared for the realities, again, of juggling two under two.
Yeah.
And I realized that, this was just too much for me. And again, we're conditioned to thinking we can do it all. We can have whatever we want if we just work
Yeah.
hard enough. And I realized I'm working so hard, but it's still not enough.
Mhm.
So after that, I thought, you know what? We're done having kids. I don't want my marriage to suffer anymore. And then the pandemic started.
Yeah.
And then we were really in a whole new chapter with, again, the two toddlers working from home full time. And once things sort of settled down, I realized I actually did want more kids, but I did not want the postpartum experiences and really the motherhood experience that I was
Mm.
having. And at that point, I had switched to Google. And one of our directors would ask us challenging questions when it came to strategy. And he would say, what would need to happen in order for this outcome to be true? So think
Ooh.
big, think bold. And I decided to apply that to my life and say, what would need to be true in order for me to have an amazing postpartum experience, to feel that I was thriving or glowing? Like I always thought like this myth of this mother glowing and
I
loving life.
know. I hated those women. I my
No,
one of my best friends was with those women until she had
I
her
know.
second, and then she wasn't that
Right.
woman anymore.
So that's what inspired me to go on this journey of looking at information. And I thought, let me start there and get informed and see if it's even possible, and
Yeah.
set myself up for a different experience. And that's when we made the decision to have the third. And it was a night and day experience. And then
Really?
I I was that glowing mother.
Dang.
I thought it
I wish
didn't
I would have met you
exist.
sooner.
So, I realized the experience of becoming a mother is something that doctors don't really tell us about. That's not their primary focus area.
No.
So, that's what inspired me to create Mother Me based on my own personal experience. And then I started helping women at Google, and then I started helping women at other tech companies, and realized people want and need this support. And quite honestly, they deserve it. So,
Yeah.
that was a very long answer to your question, but it
No, I
was,
love that.
not an overnight journey for me. It was a long, ups and downs of motherhood.
Absolutely. Many women experience significant mood fluctuations after childbirth. What does the data reveal about factors that can lower the risk of postpartum mood struggles?
Yeah, so there's a lot of factors that can play into that. And obviously, when I talk about this, I want to separate the things that are within our control and the things that are not in our control. So for women who may have a family history of mental health challenges or clinical depression or anxiety, obviously that's a very different conversation, because
Hmm.
I don't want anyone to feel like their mood is their fault, right? There could
Yeah,
be big factors outside of their control. But where
definitely.
I focused my research is on what we can control. So, what the biggest factors, honestly, in postpartum mood are your quality of sleep, no surprise there,
Hmm. Definitely.
your your quality of relationship. If you have
Yes.
stress with your partner, your family members, other things like that, it's not just the partner that can be the source of stress. It could be a parent, an in-law,
Hmm.
something else.
Yep.
And then also our diet is very important to regulating our mood. And one of the biggest factors too that I think doesn't get enough attention is the decision whether or not to breastfeed. Because when you are
Mm,
breastfeeding, your hormones are still very actively involved in creating that milk production.
really?
So, yes. So, again, like the decision on if to breastfeed or how long to breastfeed, that is something that, again, I think more women deserve to know in pregnancy when they're evaluating their choices, that will have an impact on their hormone balance longer. It will be imbalanced longer if they decide to breastfeed longer.
Holy moly, I
So,
never knew that. Never knew that.
yeah. Yeah. So I
Oh my
actually decided
gosh.
not to breastfeed at all.
Because
Um,
of that.
Yes, because I wanted to sort of start feeling more like myself
Mhm.
sooner and faster. And I also, again, the partner dynamics, I wanted my husband to be involved in the actual feeding. So for us, that was the best decision. But again, some women love breastfeeding and it's a
Mhm.
wonderful journey. For other women, it can be very stressful for a lot of reasons.
Oh
So,
gosh, let me count the nipple ways. Let me count the ways. And I say nipple ways. Yes, you heard me right. I said nipple ways because oh
yeah,
my gosh. Ugh,
right.
don't miss that. Don't miss it.
Yeah. So, that's something that could probably be its own episode completely
Yes.
on
1000%.
like lactation journey and there's some factors that show it helps with mood and then there's other factors that show that it can create a lot of stress. So,
I can totally, you know what? I never thought about that. The
yeah.
factors like sleep, factors health, eating, diet, exercise, your relationship with your partner. Absolutely. If you're in a supportive environment, if you're able to have some of these uncomfortable conversations or these, expressing these feelings of uncertainty, all of that is important, but I never knew about, never even considered breastfeeding. Like you
Yeah.
always hear, you're a great mom if you breastfeed. And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't feel like a great mom when I was breastfeeding. I couldn't wait till the moment was over because it hurt so much. It
Right.
hurt so much. I didn't mind the way my boobs looked though. Looked like I had a free boob job.
Seriously,
But
that
yeah,
is a
no.
benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And another factor that might be interesting, given this working audience of women, is how long you have for maternity leave and if
Mm-hmm.
your partner has leave as well.
Yeah.
So there was just an update in Hong Kong where they extended maternity leave because in Hong Kong, they have some of the highest rates of postpartum depression anywhere in the world
Mm-hmm.
and they
Wow.
extended the national policy for maternity leave and they did that in 2020 and they've since seen lower rates of postpartum depression. So when you think about that in our country it's like we're struggling to get paid federal leave
Mm-hmm.
passed and how much would that help women if we had a benefit like that. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of
Absolutely.
factors like I said that go into it, some within our control, some without, but the biggest one being sleep and the quality that you get in terms of your recovery, your mood. Sleep really is the cornerstone to any well-being. And when you think about the
Yeah.
vulnerabilities of the postpartum period, you need every minute you can get
Every
to
minute.
recover
Mm-hmm.
and rest.
Yep. You've emphasized the importance of connecting with your partner and to improve mood. How does strengthening that relationship impact a woman's emotional well-being during postpartum period? Can you speak with personal experience?
Oh, yes, I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, and my husband is absolutely lovely, and he is a wonderful dad, and that's part of why, I fell in love with him. I knew he would be a great dad, but again, my naivete in this journey
Yeah.
was that he was a mind reader, and,
Mm-hmm.
everything you go through really is invisible. Like,
Yeah.
I would be so nauseous sitting next to him on the couch when I was pregnant, and he obviously had no idea, but I thought
Mm-mm.
he could sense it or tell and anticipate my needs.
Yeah.
And then when he didn't, I started to resent that.
Yep.
So that was really the beginning of the challenges that I think a lot of couples face is you're going through this very individualized journey of
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy and it's a physical journey, a mental journey, emotional, professional. I remember being upset that I knew I was going to be on leave during a promo cycle and I had
Yeah.
been working at Facebook for so long and I was so, anticipating this promotion I've been working towards for years and I was going to be out on leave and I didn't get that promotion.
Yeah.
So the resentment for me started to build,
Mhm.
and I didn't have the language to articulate this.
Yeah.
And again, I thought it was just us. I wondered, is something wrong with us as our relationship, as individuals? Why this should be the happiest time of our life, right? First
Yeah.
comes love, then marriage, then the baby carriage. Like,
Right?
we wanted this, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so a little bit of guilt and shame also crept in with that. And it wasn't until, again, like I said, we had that second baby and things really compounded with logistics and,
Mhm.
everything else going on, that I said to him, I don't want to have that third baby because I don't like what it's doing to us.
Yeah.
And I don't want our marriage to suffer. And therefore, our children, our two children that we had, would suffer. So we need to really get on the same page about a lot of this. And then I started looking at the Gottman Institute, and
Oh,
their
yes, love
research.
them, love
Yes, that
them.
was
I
so
practice, yeah. I
validating.
use Gottman method with all of my couples.
Yes, and it's fantastic because what it really does is normalize a
Mhm.
lot of the challenges that we're having silently,
Yeah.
and gives tools to, change them. Like, the 5-to-1 ratio, where if you
Yeah.
have, five positive interactions but one negative one, that overshadows those.
Everything
So
else.
again, from a data perspective, I'm like, we really have to up our positive interactions because we can't eliminate the negative ones, right?
Yeah.
That's going to happen, and that's okay. But we just have
Mhm.
to be mindful of that. And then other things like, again, my communication, I realized, was not where it needed to be because I was silently sort of suffering in my physical and emotional ups and downs of pregnancy. And
Yeah.
I put that ownership on him to, again, be a mind reader. And that's not fair, right? So
No.
once I took accountability of that and saying, like, okay, I need to communicate to him more. And again, using sort of Gottman tools of, here's how I feel and here's what I need. Can
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
blank?
Yeah.
That simple framework was a game changer for us. And that's something that I, teach a lot of the women that I work with because, again, being in the professional world, we're used to just moving so fast and not really focusing on feelings. We're focusing on
Yeah.
facts, right? We're just moving forward. So for me to pause and reflect and sort of name it to tame it, like name my
Yep.
emotions, that was, again, very simple, but really impactful for me personally and the women I work with.
Yeah. A lot of women, they'll feel that struggle. They'll go into he should be able to mind read,
Mhm.
but they don't look inwardly at all.
Right.
It's more of
Right.
this, I'm going to point the finger, it's their fault. And don't get me wrong, yeah, partial. Um, what did it take? Like, what was your final, like, that's it. I can't do this anymore. Something's got to give. Like, what was it? Is there an event? Is there an incident that took place that it was just like enough? I'm pointing the finger. I'm trying to get him to read my mind. I'm so frustrated and so I don't even think we know we're in resentment, but I just have all of these frustrations and just this feeling of being overwhelmed. Like, what was it for you that was sort of like your breaking point?
Right. Yeah. So honestly, I met a woman in an elevator,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband was with me and we had the kids, and she said, and I thought this was very strange. She said, "Don't get a divorce until your youngest is 5 years old."
Oh shit.
And I was, and we didn't even say anything. It wasn't even, we weren't fighting. It was just, we were just standing in the elevator. It was a 15-second thing. And she was an older woman. And I thought, that is so weird. And then that it kept in my mind. I was like, did she look at us and think something was off? Could she tell, or what was it?
Was he
And then,
giving me the crazy eyes? Like, what was happening? Like,
right.
I'm
I'm like,
wondering, like, what was happening? How did
what a
she know?
bizarre
How was
thing
she
to say
so
to
intuitive?
strangers. And then I thought about it later, and, during tense moments where we were, I'd be like, I have to do all this stuff with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and this has impacted me and my body and my social life and this and that. And, you know, we never really thought about getting divorced, really. But I think when couples fight, it's easier to say, well, if we were apart, these problems wouldn't exist, which
Yeah.
is not true,
Yeah. No,
obviously.
it's not.
But in a moment of, you don't know how to fix things, so you just look for an out.
Yeah.
And then that woman's comment came back to me, and then I realized, like, it is a thing where people with young children really struggle in their relationship and nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
And now what I know from the Gottman research is they say almost 70% of couples with
Yeah.
kids under 2 have a decline in relationship satisfaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't know when you heard that number for the first time, but when I did, I was like, somebody's lying. It has to be 95%.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry. It's
Yes.
everybody.
Mhm. Yes, I hear it all the time. All of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
parenting changes so much.
yeah, and it should, and it can be a wonderful thing if you're prepared,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you know how to navigate it, if you know what's coming, you'll be ready. But if you don't, like I was, and I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
blindsided, and then they think that their relationship is the problem, when in reality, they have not had the training. Like, in the Catholic Church, there's pre-Cana. You go through this before you get married. There really should be baby proof your
Oh,
relationship boot camp.
yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was totally God. Like, that lady coming in and just say, "Don't get a divorce 5 years," that was totally like God saying, "Hey, don't even need to say anything. I am already seeing it. I'm already seeing it. I'm
Right?
aware. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm aware." What practical strategies can busy, high achieving women implement to enhance their connection with their partners amidst the demands of new motherhood?
So in terms of strategies, I think that having a regular time for communication
Yeah, State of the
takes
Union. Mhm.
yes, it takes the um sort of anxiety out of it. Like,
Yep,
if just the same way at work when you have a one-on-one with your, skip level manager or something, like, it's coming, it's on the calendar, it's no big deal, you're prepared for it. I think
yep,
having a dedicated time to go through, you know, not only logistics but feelings, and checking in with each other. And it's sort of counterintuitive, but it's almost like asking for feedback from your partner to say, "Where do you need more support from me?" And
yeah,
opening up the conversation sort of with that gesture of goodwill, rather than just sort of attacking and being like, "You're
mhm.
not doing enough of this." When you invite the answer, it's a lot more productive
Yeah,
than
they're a
when
lot more
somebody's
receptive.
right,
Mhm.
when somebody's just offering it, which feels like criticism.
Yep,
So I'd say having that would be one strategy, having a dedicated time to talk business. And
yeah,
then I would say equally important is having a dedicated time to just be husband and wife again, or
yeah,
be partners again, and be fun, and not talk about kids. And my husband and I instituted like a regular date night,
mhm.
that without fail, even sometimes we just go, grocery shopping together, and, do fun things together that just without kids is a lot more enjoyable and, like, flirty.
Yeah.
Like, you can have that
Yes, you need
time
that
to
passion.
right, to reconnect. And then the third thing that I would say has helped us both tremendously is having individual outlets.
Mhm.
So, my husband does a golf league on Tuesday nights, and rather than resent him for doing that, I started playing tennis. And
Yeah,
I said, "You know what? I'm doing this night." So then we each have a night alone with the 3
yep,
kids, and he is more than capable of putting them all to bed. But a lot of women fear, like, I can't go do something because my husband can't take care of the kids in the same way.
yeah.
And you really have to give them that opportunity to practice that. And then
Mhm.
also, you deserve that night out of freedom, or morning out, or whatever it is you want to do. So I think having, again, the business meeting as a
Yeah.
regular thing, having the couple time, and then also your individual time,
Mhm.
as a set thing. So it's not like, "Hey, can I go do this workout class every Saturday morning?" It's just on the calendar. It's like,
It's done.
I do my thing, you have your alone time with the kids, and that's great because they love being with their dad. Take them to
Yep.
get donuts or whatever.
Yeah. No, for real.
I know looking for the right therapist can be challenging. However, feeling overwhelmed and disconnected is even harder. Life is filled with several twists and turns, some more severe than others. We do our best to handle them as they come and find ourselves at a loss, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. The clinicians here at Outside the Norm Counseling are here to help. We are here to assist you through this time of need. Together, we will identify your strengths and goals and teach you healthy coping skills. Together, we will develop a plan to help you live the life you want to live. Our team is compassionate, genuine, and we take a great deal of pride in providing an empathetic, non-judgmental approach to all of our clients. It's time! You've waited long enough, whether it be for you, your child, or if you're in need of a couple session. We are highly trained clinicians ready to guide you. Schedule an appointment now by calling 951-395-3288. Again, that number is 951-395-3288. We're looking forward to meeting you and being a part of your journey.
Isolation and feelings of being overwhelmed are common during postpartum. How does the Mother Me platform help women feel more supported and less alone during this time?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit, honestly, is when women hear the data, they instantly know they're not alone, right? It's not
Yes.
a them problem. It's a
All
much
of
bigger
us. Yeah.
societal issue. And knowing that, I think where I focus on, the research is also the changes that happen to us chemically, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
our brain neurologically rewires during pregnancy and
Yeah.
postpartum. So when you realize these changes are happening inside you by design, and that a lot of these shifts in identity, relationships, physical, mental, you know, well-being, all of this happens universally to
Mm-hmm.
women who become mothers. Like that's matrescence, right? The science of becoming a mother. Just like adolescence is what happens to every child when they become an adult, matrescence is what happens to every woman when she becomes a mother.
Mm.
So we now have language to create understanding around the changes that happen to us so it doesn't feel as personalized or stigmatized. Like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with me that I'm not loving motherhood? And I know you're loving your baby. You're just
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
loving all the shit
All
that's
of the shit.
happening
Yeah.
around you.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Please, can I pass it? Yes.
Yeah. So, what I say sort of in the program is like, it starts with information. And
Yes.
then information helps reduce anxiety because you're not afraid of the unknown. You know what's
No.
coming. And then action, like I really focus on what you can do with the information. Action is what gets rid of feeling overwhelmed,
Yep.
right? Because if you know what to do, then you just follow the steps and you know you're going to see an improvement. And then support is the last pillar sort of the program where you're not meant to do it alone. And that's where I focus honestly a lot on the global postpartum care, because you
Yeah.
realize in almost every other country in culture there's traditions of supporting women through this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this expectation we have in the US of being superwoman and doing it all is
Yeah.
so false. And you're not
Yes.
meant to do it all on your own. You're really not. So
No.
support is a critical part of dealing with isolation, because you really shouldn't be alone, and you're not meant to be alone in this time of your life. But yet again, that's sort of become the expectation or what people think is normal, and it's really not.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize how bad we were as a society with how much we embrace and motivate um, work until,
Mm.
we took a family trip to Europe. And that first family trip, it was, we literally had like 3 excursions per day because it's like, we're going to see everything. We're going to go
Yeah.
to the Louvre, we're going to go to the Eiffel Tower, and we're going to go to the Siena or whatever it's called, whatever thingy river, Siena River, I don't know, whatever river. We're going to do that all in one day. And my kids were crashed out on the boat as we're like touring this monumental site. They're over it. But
Yeah.
I realized, holy crap, even on vacation, I do this and I'm around people that are just kicking back.
Yeah.
Like they're not in a rush. Here we are running. We missed our our Uber, whatever we had, the taxi. So we ran on the bus, and from the bus, we're running to Eiffel Tower. We almost missed our tour. I mean, it was just nonstop. We took the following year, we went to Spain and Portugal. And
Mm,
again, I'm reminded, like, slow down,
yeah.
relax. And I didn't realize I didn't know how to relax,
Yeah.
until I'm surrounded by everybody that's relaxing, and I'm ready to do more things, but
I
really
know.
exhausted and not enjoying it.
I know. It's really a sort of a way of life difference. And
Yes.
one of the things I say specifically about the first 2 weeks of the postpartum period is that doing nothing is doing something. Because
Yes.
we do need to recondition our brains, especially when we're in a physical recovery,
Mhm.
that stillness, that's when the fibers of our body are knitting back together, right? Like
Yeah.
when your uterus is the size of a dinner plate. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are actively recovering from a major medical thing. And a lot of women hurt themselves by doing things like emptying the dishwasher, like bending over. It's like you're aggravating an area that needs to heal, but
Yep.
because it's mostly invisible healing, we don't honor it the way we would if we were in, a boot and we were on crutches. Like that
Mhm.
would slow you down, whether you
Yeah,
wanted to or
substantially.
not.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it is interesting, sort of again, looking at some global perspectives, like cultures that have this 40-day confinement period, which sounds like a negative word, but really it's to honor, in some cultures, they call it the sacred window. And the
Yeah.
first 40 days of recovery are critical from a physical and mental standpoint. But now we know from the data that those first 40 days impact your health for the next 40 years.
Oh my
So
gosh. Can
it
I
is
get can
so
I get that
critical.
now? And don't give me my laptop or my phone.
Yes. Oh my god, tech
Right?
that is
Because those 40 days, if I'm locked up with my laptop and my phone, oh my gosh, Jess, can you imagine how much I'm getting excited right now, how much work I could get done? I would need to be in that room, lock the door, do not give me any access to my phone or my
I
laptop because I
know.
would work. I would
I
work.
know. I know.
For women struggling to balance their careers, motherhood, and personal well being, what advice do you have to help them navigate this challenging period? Lock
Oh,
them up for 40 days.
yeah. I think that reframing what you consider a luxury, right? Like what
Yes.
is often considered a luxury, like rest,
Yeah.
food, is actually a necessity.
Yeah.
So, you deserve so much more support and care than what you
Mhm.
are sort of conditioned to expecting.
Gosh,
And,
yes.
I think that's where we we need to remember that just like we're giving birth to a baby, we're also giving birth to ourselves as a new mother. And that woman needs love and care and food
Yeah.
and nurture and
Yeah.
support just as much as that baby does. And it can be really hard for women, especially high powered, successful women who
Mhm.
take pride in doing so much on their own,
Yeah.
which was me. So I
Yeah.
fully get it. It's really hard to accept help and to think that it's a sign of strength, which it actually is to accept help.
Absolutely.
It's not a weakness. So, I think understanding again, you need and deserve more support. But also, if you struggle with accepting that, look at the data, right? It proves
Yeah.
that you deserve that.
Mhm.
So that's where I've personally felt empowered to finally get the support that I needed, because I realized it wasn't a me issue.
No.
It's
Everyone.
really, yeah, it's a global
Mhm.
issue.
Mhm. Mhm. Looking back, what do you wish you had done before your own postpartum journey that could have helped with mood and quality of life? And I know after your second one, you were able to go ahead and implement these new strategies. But now
Yeah.
looking back, even with your third one, which do you want to announce where we're at right now?
Yes, I am 12 weeks pregnant with number 4. A surprise. We said the
Surprise.
3rd was the exclamation point, the grand finale. So
Yeah,
now we're
done.
like, but the 4th is the encore. Like, we have to go one more time.
One more time. One more round.
Um, but yeah, a lot of the things that I'm doing now are lining up support. Um, for those first 6 to 8 weeks, because that is
Yes.
really, the most vulnerable period. And for me, food is the is medicine, right? Like,
Yeah.
the quality of what we eat is so important, and especially in a postpartum period where, we are so deficient in iron and so.
Everything. Mhm.
Right, like, you lose so much blood in delivery, and doctors aren't really telling you, "Oh, make sure you refuel on iron."
Mhm.
Um, so the biggest thing that I'm doing is really preparing for a meal plan for myself. The
Oh,
same way
awesome.
we think about, how we're gonna feed our baby, what bottles do we need, or what pumps do we need, or what do we need for all of that. I'm putting that money and time and energy behind my feeding plan.
Yeah.
Um, so, convenience is key,
Mhm.
that we're not gonna do something if it's too much of an effort. So making plans in advance help make sure that things are convenient and quality. Um, and then I would say, if I was a first-time mom, what I would do differently is have a lot more heart-to-hearts with my husband and open
Yes.
up a lot more about how I was feeling, because pregnancy really is a lot of mixed emotions.
Mhm.
And again, the sort of Hollywood view on that, or the society view, is just you're this glowing, happy woman because you're creating life. But the reality for me and a lot of women is that you really struggle with anxiety during that period of, like, will my baby be healthy?
Yeah.
What will happen to my career? What will happen to my relationship? My other kids are there's so many worries that are completely normal to have in
Yeah.
pregnancy, and honoring those feelings, rather than dismissing them.
Mhm.
'Cause
Mhm.
again, name it to tame it. Like, when I
Yep.
tell my husband I'm worried about XYZ, and we, like, validate, that's a really real
Yeah.
concern. Of course you're worried about the health
Absolutely.
of your baby. Um, but then moving forward, and again, focusing on what you can control and what you can't control. And that's where I've personally made the most strides in my, development, is letting go of what I can't control. And the more internal control I have in my mind, the more calm I feel in what I can control externally and what I can't.
Mhm.
And I didn't always have that sort of mental awareness and well-being.
Yeah.
But I've practiced it, and it's helped me be a better mom and a better wife and just a happier person as well.
Absolutely. It sounds like what you're saying is paying attention to the things that you minimize.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like we minimize so much. I don't need it. I'm fine. I ate yesterday, or, I had a really big breakfast or whatever. And it's like, no, there's so many other things that you're feeding too,
Right.
you know, and it's important that you sit down just like you would sit down to, maybe your first with your child feeding them, like you would sit down and you would take that time to feed them. Like,
Right.
that same thing needs to be done for yourself. I thought about it right now as you were saying that. I thought about this morning, made me think. This morning, every morning I make my kids breakfast. And most of the time it's, whatever I put in the microwave and we're ready to go. I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. Um, but I've been making it a habit to actually make them breakfast. They've had avocado toast every single day this week, every single day. I switch it up
Delicious.
with, like,
Yeah.
everything but the bagel seasoning. I switch it up with the seasonings. I go a little crazy with those, but for the most part, it's the Costco spread of avocado with egg. But I noticed this morning, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why don't I deserve an avocado toast? Like, I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
have a long day today. And I've gotten so used to just making them their food and then also making my husband, a toast, but not myself. And
Right.
I was literally like putting his toast in the toaster, which can can't fit two, can't fit
Right.
two or four. I mean, you could go crazy. And then putting his egg in there, which also can fit two. But it was
Right.
like, oh my God, like, I haven't even acknowledged that at no point in time. I've always said, well, I don't have time. I don't have time. I'll do it
Right.
later. I'll eat a protein bar. It's not a big deal. But literally, I had time to make them food and I'm making his. Why can't I add one more egg and one more
I
bread?
know.
It's so crazy. So crazy how
It's
we don't do these
it's really
things.
hard too, and I don't know if you would agree with this as a therapist, but it's like I think about my mom, who I absolutely adore, and I'm so grateful for her. But one thing she did over and over is exactly what you're doing, which it was modeling to me that she came last.
Yes.
And then I realized that is how I operated as a wife and as
Mm-hmm.
a mom. And I was like, everybody's needs come before my own. And I
Yeah.
realized, unfortunately for my mom, and like we talk about it
Yeah.
now, that it's really not only did I feel bad for her in hindsight, but I don't want to set that example for my kids.
No,
I
no,
want
no,
my kids
no.
to know that they matter just
Mm-hmm.
as much as everybody else.
Bingo.
So there's not this like martyr, and not my mom was not a martyr, but like,
No, no, no. I get what you're saying.
and so when it's hard for me to take care of myself, I do switch my mindset to say,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this so that my daughters know and my son knows that this is how they need to do it too. So I'm leading by example
Bingo.
rather than, which because it is sort of against our nature in some
Yeah.
ways. Um, and it's a slippery slope, like
Mm-hmm.
to put up that boundary. And even like when it comes to working out, I take my kids to a gazillion activities,
For real.
but it would be so hard for me daily after school if they came home and I'm working out. And then I finally said, like, this is my time to do my activity and you can do it with me or you can do your own activity, but I'm
Yeah.
not stopping my activity, just
No.
like we don't stop your hockey practice for.
Mm-hmm. For real. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's in like that cliche saying of like the oxygen masks, like, they're like, put your oxygen mask on
Mm-hmm.
first and then your kids. And a lot of people in the motherhood space talk about that.
Yeah.
And it's really true. I mean, it's
It is.
cheesy, but it's true.
It is.
You
Totally true. Yeah.
so, what kids really want is a happy and healthy mom more
Yeah.
than they want anything else. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jess, thank you so much for sharing your insights and shedding light on these important topics. Your data driven approach offers practical solutions that can truly make a difference in our listeners' lives. Before we wrap up, I'm sure many of our listeners are eager to dive even deeper. Do you have any resources or freebies they can access to start improving their mood and quality of life?
yes, lots of resources. So my Instagram is motherme.io. So on there you can find links to a lot of free resources. I have a pregnancy guide, a couples conversation guide, which I call like Mad Libs for adults, to give you some frameworks and language to work through. And then I also have a course that you can take, which my website is motherme.io/course if you want to check that out. And I take a limited number of one on one clients who want more personalized pregnancy and postpartum wellness plans. And I also do some corporate speaking. So if you have
Yay!
an ERG group or a leadership training where you want your leaders to know more about what women go through, I do a lot of that as well. So I'm happy to chat with you about how to support you at a corporate level as well.
Wonderful. Jess, thank you again for joining us and for the incredible work you're doing to support women during such a pivotal time in their lives. To our listeners, remember that you're not alone and there are resources and strategies available to help you navigate this journey with confidence and support. Until next time, stay empowered and unapologetic. Thank you again, Jess.
Thank you.
Raise your hand if you are ready to level up your marriage for 2023. Do you find that you're spending your time together with your husband checked out and in front of the TV? I know you're ready for tangible strategies that actually get you results. Reignite the spark in your marriage, have fun, and grow together. Well, I hope you have your hand raised at this minute because I have something special for you. I'm introducing my brand new 6-question marriage predictor quiz that's gonna give you personalized results to catapult you into the next stage of your marriage journey. That means you'll receive the results to where your marriage can get the best help. If you've got just 1 minute, head to veronicacisneros.org/quiz. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz. and you could take my brand new quiz, Marriage Predictor. Get your results delivered right to your email address. Again, that's veronicacisneros.org/quiz, veronicacisneros.org/quiz. What's up, ladies? Just want to let you guys know that your ratings and reviews for this podcast are greatly appreciated. If you love this podcast, please go to iTunes right now, write a review, rate the episode, and subscribe. Don't forget to share it with your friends.